Hello, everyone. This is Matt, your local friendly gamer, and I do appreciate everyone who, was understanding and, that saw the last update that I made last month. Taking the month off was very much needed, given everything that's been going on. Um, Unfortunately, things haven't really have gotten much better since then. Seeing that not too long after I posted that update, my grandmother passed away. Um, like I think it was like the following Monday or Tuesday after. It depends on when. I'm kind of struggling to remember when September 10th was. Uh, Very creepily enough, that happened to coincide with the release of the Persona 3 Reload DLC episode Aegis, which is based on the Answer epilogue, and considering the theming that went on with that, it definitely was a little extra unnerving, but either way, a close family member passed away, just like my grandfather before her. My grandmother was very largely involved with my family. We were definitely very fortunate and blessed to have her for as long as we did. But unfortunately, her time to pass, came. And with the following month, just did more cleaning out of her house because we were still in the midst of doing that. And we were also making the necessary preparations for both her burial and her memorial services, which happened this past Saturday. So, um, still healing. My family is still healing a little bit. We're still on kind of the path on recovery regarding that. So, and the 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 path to like even get to where we were today had all sorts of difficulties. That for privacy reasons and because some of it is still ongoing, I'm not gonna disclose here. Um, so, um, I'm doing this courtesy update just to let everyone know that, I'm still here, still around, um, and I haven't gone anywhere just yet, but there are a few things that I want to talk about, that I want to address, and that I want to try to set in place moving forward. So the first thing to note is that I am once again going to have to restructure how my channel operates a little bit, due to my current circumstances, as well as just kind of an overall kind of personal observation and all that stuff. Now, what I mean by that is, when I initially when I initially did this started this channel under a different name 10 years ago, it was pretty much kind of inspired by a lot of people that I saw at the time, um, doing like their own content creation, doing kind of like their own editing videos and the like. And because I was someone that was going at just, wrapping up college and stuff, and as someone who was also interested in video games and the nerd material and all the nerdy stuff and all the like, and as someone who has like his own experience in that matter, I kind of wanted to emulate that a bit. Um, and for like the first 7 years, I kind of struggled in that mainly because at the time I didn't really exactly had much of a plan because I see other people doing this thing and I wanted to do that too, and that was pretty much the extent of it. Um, and when I decided to restructure my channel the first time with a whole new name, it still had kind of remnants of that, but I wanted to see if I could do a little bit of a better job of adding my own personal touch to that. Unfortunately, as time went on and as I got older and as things around me kind of changed, it's been kind of hard to kind of keep up with stuff even in my current form. Mainly because, I try to set myself up to like a certain expectation based of what I was seeing other people do without knowing of whether or not I could match up to that or not. What made things kind of even more difficult in that respect is that a lot of the people that I was either following or people that I was hearing about, they had to like open up like their own difficulties in kind of doing similar things. Or there's also been a lot just in the past kind of 10 or so years alone. There have been plenty of people that have relied on creating a community, and creating their own independent content that have been getting themselves into various kinds of trouble, you know, not unlike, say, like someone who would be like, a celebrity or an athlete or a politician. That is now kind of extended to like, social media influencers and content creators and the like. But even without that, we have been seeing a lot of overall exhaustion and burnout and just kind of lack of motivation from people, and rightfully so, because as the years went on and as platforms like YouTube, Twitch, and even Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok were getting more prevalent and people were trying to like, build their own business and brand through these, it became a lot more competitive and a lot more intrusive to like the good old work-life balance. And it definitely became feeling like you have to have this side hustle or needing to have um, you know, this grind in order to get somewhere with what you want to do regarding these platforms. And that is true to an extent, but I think people are starting to realize there's only so far you could take it before, both your body and your mind start to give out on you. And unfortunately, because I haven't really gotten anywhere with this. I mean, I shouldn't say anywhere. I would say not as far as I was kind of hoping. I kind of reached that point earlier compared to a lot of people, as well as more frequently. It started to become to the point where it's like, if I didn't make something in like a couple of weeks, I would feel bad about it. Even though my audience was nowhere near as large. And because since it was kind of like a side hustle within an overall side hustle of me doing freelance media like photography and videography, and a passion project, I shouldn't really need to feel bad by just going at my own pace. But because I kind of put myself at a certain expectation that I couldn't quite exactly meet, uh, it 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 was kind of in a way where it's like it felt kind of self-defeating, and I was taking the fun out of something that I wanted to enjoy in the first place. It's one of those things where it's like I thought of it as something that needed to be up here, Here, this hand is probably better where the camera is up here, but it really needed to be something like over here. Um, Regardless of whether or not it stayed here or eventually goes up to here, it needed to be here. Um, and there are ways that I could have done that, and some ways that I discovered that I could still do that. Um, but it was just something that didn't quite occur to me until I was already burnt out, I was already exhausted, and I already just constantly kept myself from just in a constant loop of feeling bad and feeling awful and the like. And it was just something that I know if I wanted to continue doing something like this, I can't keep myself in this mindset. And in a way that also extends to, my freelancing work as well, which is something that I've also been experiencing, especially like the last year or so. And it's something that I've been constantly trying to turn things around as best as I can and as quickly as I can. But as the good old saying goes, you take one step forward and then you take a couple steps back. And it feels like the more times that I try to take a step forward, the more I find myself stumbling, back a few steps and a back a few steps and a back a few steps. And it's like, it's just, I wanted to find a way to kind of plant myself, to stop, plant myself firmly and try to make sense of where I'm currently at and what I need to do going forward. So, um, and that isn't even going to with, all of the technical difficulties that I've been having in both this channel and in both freelancing, as well as all of the additional investment that I need to make regarding like time and money that that is becoming increasingly less available to me. A lot of stuff, whether it's for fun or for work, is, slowly wearing away and not working anymore. I mean, just this morning, when I turned on my streaming laptop for the first time in a month, to make sure it runs okay. Everything was a little bit slow, but it started out okay. And then once I tried to do a mandatory update that needed to be restarted, you know, after, the computer restarted and then it did its last few things to kind of restart that update, it was running into issues. And it had to like did like a cycle of, restarting and crashing and restarting and crashing before, the computer finally decided to be like, hey, something's really not going on right here. And I was kind of starting to get myself into a panic. Uh, because not only did I need that for streaming, a couple of the drives that I have for my freelancing can only be read through that laptop now. And I still need to work on like backing up a few things, and not to mention like I'm just a year away from needing to update that laptop to Windows 11, and I don't even know if it's going to do that smoothly. So, um, yeah, it really is kind of putting myself in a bit of a mess right now. And things that it's like, my time management seems to be getting worse by the given day. I haven't really been taking the best care of myself. And it's getting to the point where it's like I really need to start doing something. Like, it doesn't matter what, doesn't matter how long it ends up taking. I need to do something rather than just sitting, sitting all stressed out, getting, kind of sh- shutting out of everything and just hoping that as soon as I get over this hurdle, things are suddenly going to get better. When all of a sudden it's just now there's another hurdle, now there's another hurdle, now there's another hurdle, now there's another hurdle. Uh, and it's kind of reminiscent to kind of where I was at, you know, 10 years ago, right as I finished college, you know, uh, and, I was burnt out from all that, but then I had to figure out, I'm not in college anymore. I'm gonna have bills to pay. I need to do something. And it kind of sucks that, 10 years have gone by and now I've kind of felt like I've kind of went back to kind of not necessarily square one, but not too far from it. And it's really incredibly frustrating, and because, certain circumstances are different, I can't approach things the same way that I did when I was in my early 20s. I'm in my early 30s now. So, um, before I spend like another 20 or so minutes, getting into an endless ramble regarding that, because there's just so many things that I could specifically say about, you know, where I'm currently at and how I'm currently feeling. Um, for the sake of not having this go too long, I'm gonna come back to this in terms of this channel, um, and kind of see where I need to go from here. So the first thing that I need to bring up is what does that mean for like, the usual playthrough series that I usually do? Because right now I'm near the end of the base game for Pokemon Violet. That is where I'm currently at. That's where I left off just on, I just kind of like, I just finished training all of the Pokemon that I had and starting to do all the end game stuff, and I still have all the expansion content left to do. So what I've decided, I'm going to continue with that, but instead of breaking in like, in between the base game and the expansion, because I was planning to do Pokemon Shining Pearl in the middle of that, not going to do that. What I'm going to do instead is that I'm going to do my best, hopefully within, you know, the remainder of this year, and then try to finish as early in next year as I possibly can. Gonna try to finish Pokemon Violet, both the base game and the expansion. And then after that, playthroughs as I have been planning them as they are will be will will not happen. Uh, because because there's a different way that I plan on going about this going forward. And the reason for that is that not only do I have to worry about whether or not, my tech can last another year or not, but I also need to kind of focus on like where my financial situation is going to be and what I need to prioritize. Um, what I'm going to do is that for future playthroughs of anything, I'm going to instead have them be extra life incentives. Because one of the great things that came out of doing stuff for this channel was my extra life campaigns and the partnership that I had with the Chicago Guild, with Laura's Children's Hospital. I want to still continue doing that. But I also understand that, if at some point that I cannot do the streams like how I usually do, I still need to find a way to kind of continuing them in another sense, um, in order to kind of continue to work towards things going forward. So the Pokemon Violet playthrough is going to be the last playthrough that I schedule on my own. So, and then anything after that is going to be strictly extra life focused or uh, geared towards other charities, because I know I've been wanting to do stuff with Able Gamers. I want to do stuff with St. Jude, and I'm pretty sure down the line there are other nonprofits that I would like to support. Extra Life is going to be the main one, but I will still leave room to plan for other campaigns down the road. featuring other charitable causes. So I I am still debating on whether or not to still keep, personal tip jars if anyone wants to donate to me personally. But I think especially, I want to focus strictly on charity when it comes with this channel. I think it's a way that I could be able to have a very flexible schedule, and that I can stream whenever I want. I can go on like a break for like 1 or 2 months and not feel bad about it. And also, if I decided to have playthroughs as incentives, that way, I can maybe schedule a full day just to do, a session, and hopefully raise money for it. So that way, it's a good way to regularly, be involved with a charity, especially if I cannot physically go to events. Because I actually had a good year this year when it came to Extra Life, but that was mostly because I was one of the few available volunteers for Combo Breaker. It was our first time at Combo Breaker, and it was a very successful event when we ran that table. So my campaign this year looks a whole lot better than what it probably would have been had have I never haven't done as if I wasn't able to do as much up to this point. And I still have game day this year's game day to consider as well. Um, but yeah, any future playthroughs of anything are going to be extra life incentives, probably starting next year. Uh, I'll have it like every $250 or so, maybe with like a max of 3 per year or something. And whenever I get one done, that opens up a slot, sort of deal. I haven't quite figured the details out just yet, but that's probably how I'm gonna go about things going forward. And then like any special like multiplayer events or any special like reaction or anything like that, I'll just do whenever. Um, or if I feel like just doing a stream, I'll just pick up a game and just have it be an extra live stream. It really depends on how my current technology is going to hold up, and if it doesn't, if I can find any alternative ways of trying to do the streams as close to normal as possible. Because I just found out that with some of the changes that StreamYard has made, their annual subscription fee has gone substantially up. So I might need to find a different platform for any sort of discussion videos or something like that, or whatnot. You know, Especially something that's iPad compatible because right now my iPad is like the newest thing that I have. And even though I could do it on my desktop, my Mac desktop, it takes a lot more extra configuring to do, and it's just not something that I'm willing to risk, especially because um, that's the main computer that I do my freelance work on. So I really don't want to risk that. But it is something that I just really have to figure out because but yeah, yes, it has been a while. Uh, Queen Day night. This video is kind of is kind of explaining why that is. Um, but yeah, so and you know for all I know, maybe things will be really good. As the year comes to a close, maybe good next year. But I think the other reason why I want to consider all this is because the past few years, the reason why I've been able to do as much as I can with this was because I have been I have been wanting. to I have to consider, you know, let's see, let me start again because this is where I'm starting to really get lost in thought. So, the reason why I've been able to do as much of this as I can for the past few years was the fact that I have been an at-home caregiver for my sister who has special needs. Normally, the people who have been doing the most with, my sister's day-to-day stuff are my parents. Um, when my mom needed uh, knee surgery roughly 3 years ago, we talked about where I kind of needed to have myself, quit the day job that I had at the time in order to make myself available to help around the house. That ended up being earlier than expected because as as my mom was getting ready for that, she fell and teared all of the tendons of her good leg. So, she needed surgery on that first, and then after she recovered, she then needed surgery on her knee. Not too long after she recovered from her surgery on her knee, she then needed surgery on both of her eyes to remove cataracts. And then it was there that, I had to start wondering, okay, should I then start considering getting a day job again? But not too long after my mom recovered from that, my grandmother fell at a grocery store parking lot of summer of last year. In the past 14 months, we had so much happen with that. She lived with us for a while, but then it got to the point where she needed assisted living. And then when she got into assisted living was then we really needed to start, considering everything that, was going to happen from here on out, which led to her passing last month. Stuff like, making sure that, keeping track of her, all of the hospital appointments, cleaning out her house, um, which included selling or donating or throwing away a lot of stuff, which we still have yet to complete, as well as visiting her whenever possible. Um, my mom and my sister were very close and active with my grandmother in that regard. Um, so, but I've been trying to contribute to that whenever I could. The other thing that I was doing in those few years was because I didn't exactly have a standard day job anymore. And since a lot of my caregiving roles were very much on call, what I've been doing kind of in kind of the off time, uh, was to try to push forward in my freelancing, side job as much as I possibly can so that when everything hopefully, got better or cleared up or what have you, that would be the main hustle. And unfortunately, I have made great strides in that. I think largely in part because, with the pandemic, remote work and digital work has been given a greater importance than ever before. I haven't really moved forward in that regard as well as I would have liked. So now I'm kind of a little stuck at the moment because, I'm involved in a lot to the point where it's like it's very hard to give certain things up, but I know that at at this current point in time, I cannot currently sustain myself the way that I currently am. So not only do I have to see what I need to do regarding this channel, but I also need to see what I need to do regarding my freelance work if I have to adjust back to a more standard day job plus doing the freelance work, as I have spent the majority of my post college life prior to uh, prior to being a caregiver. Uh, so that is just pretty much everything that I kind of had to think about. Um, and if things kind of shift in a way that I could continue things on as I currently am going, as well as doing some of the stuff that I was kind of hoping to plan, then by all means, I might try to get back to where I was. But at the same time, I think I think what I either way, I kind of have to approach this uh, where I probably should have been upon either the creation of the channel or the initial restructuring, where I assumed my new channel identity. Basically, I kind of need to do a bit of a reset. As far as, when I will eventually get to the point where I will need to reset, uh, is still to be determined, but I just wanted to let you know that is something that is on my mind. Okay, just gonna catch up on the comments a little bit. I understand that. I'm my mom's primary caregiver, so I typically only have free time at night. Also, I've been here for Jersey. Well, thanks for letting me know, Revolution. On Queen Day night, meanwhile, in Florida, we're getting a terrible storm, Hurricane Milton. Yes, I've been following that a little bit, especially because my family's been really huge on watching the Weather Channel. But luckily, we're in a hotel for a day from the storm. Well, I wish you the best of luck, cause yeah, especially cause the Southeast already had to deal with a terrible hurricane not too long ago. There hasn't been a lot of resting time with concern this one. So yes, I do hope that everyone who's in that area stays safe. Just make sure that you are properly stocked. Evacuate to a safe area. And just also be careful trying to get back home after the storm's over because a lot of the storm damage is still around after the storm. So you just got to be pretty careful about that, please. But yeah. So yeah. S- So as and I'm still thinking of like doing like other streams like discussion streams and anything regarding like screen kind of like a screen share or something like that whenever possible. But like I mentioned before, um especially due to the fact that I might have to find a different platform for StreamYard, as well as the fact that I'm not sure how my current setup is going to hold, especially for when I need to upgrade to Windows 11. How I go about that is still to be determined. Again, especially if I have to like constantly like rely on, my iPad and my AirPods for a while. If I have to kind of downgrade things a little bit just so that I could still do stuff. Um, but but yeah, I am definitely gonna be focusing more towards like charity campaigns going forward. Um, and you know and just kind of like general talking discussions and all that stuff. So, but as far as how it'll all exactly take shape, that's still going to take a little bit more time. But as far as like the end of the year is concerned, My main focus is just mainly focusing on getting Pokemon Violet done in its entirety, trying to get Extra Life Game Day stream going, get a few additional charity streams going, and that will probably be it. I might have a few discussion streams here and there, but I need to get to I need to get to the point where like everything's kind of stable first, because again, especially in addition with personal stuff and freelancing stuff, the past couple of months have just been uh, uh, all over the place. It's been a mess. So um, I'm hoping that things have calmed down a bit so that I could try to sort stuff out. But given how the past few months have been, I also have to prepare for in the event that it doesn't. So uh, that's pretty much the most of what I can say for the time being. I do appreciate everyone tuning in, appreciate everyone being patient and understanding, as I'm sure I have said a lot throughout both the past year and the year before. Um, and I'm glad that, those who are still sticking around with me, continue to do so. And hopefully, whether or not this channel stays in its current form or takes on a new form, hopefully it will still be an enjoyable experience for everyone involved, for both me and the audience and whatever community that comes from this. So, uh, with all that said, this is Matt, your local friendly gamer. Appreciate you kind of hearing me out and you know uh, letting me ramble on again for the upteenth time. Trying to make sense of what's going on all around me, and hopefully better things will come in the near future, or at the very least, I have a better sense of how to figure all of my current stuff out. But we'll see. We'll see. So, in the meantime, hope all of you take care. Have yourselves a wonderful evening. Definitely stay safe, especially if you are in the path of the current storms. And take care.